How are you after so many days of intense events? Here you can relax and sit back and in a minute enjoy a wonderful presentation, but afterwards even a more wonderful breakfast where we can rejoice over food and talk together about how we can change our food systems. But first, I would like to warmly welcome you to the Climate Hub Davos. For whom has not yet been here, I'm Nicole Keller. I'm the managing director of Green Up, and we created this space to really get climate leaders, change makers, together with all the other people that are in Davos to enter into dialogue, to start collaborations, to share solutions for nature and climate in an open and accessible manner. And so far, it's been really, really great, and we're really grateful that we have so many great partners. Today's partner, we've done also really nice, happy eco hours with. And I guess now it's over to you to share all your beautiful work on food and how you're transforming it for us. So thank you, Sara.
Thank you so much. I would say it has been an amazing journey, and it's been amazing to connect the dots and come together with the Green Hub and the Climate Hub. Has been amazing because basically every year at Davos I was coming, and this was the only place where I was finding friends, like-minded people, activists, actionists, scientists, people that were literally in Davos to try to change the world, trying to make things happen. And I was very honored this year that when I called them, they said, okay, let's do something together. So today I wanted to have together with me on stage two great friends, two companions, two people that during this week were literally weaving with us. We are the Future Food Institute. We are a non-profit organization. We started 12 years ago with the big ambition of trying to change the world starting from food. And of course, if you want to start from food, there is I call it Big Mama, that is the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. That is, let's say, our home. The one that are collecting the data, supporting the farmers, trying to solve the big, huge, among us issue of food security. Since 80 years, we are struggling with food security. And so we have here with us today David Laborde, and I invite you to come on stage with me. And you can take the mic over there.
I think I'm okay. I'm equipped.
Perfect.
I'm ready.
You're ready. And then I invite on stage another friend and companion. That is Merijn Dols. That is here with multiple hats, because these system thinkers and doers wears multiple hats in their life. And he's here, of course, as part of our big family of the Future Food Institute, but also representing the bioregional weaving lab. That is another friends and family group that came together with us in this long journey on trying to change the world, starting from communities and food system transformation. So Merijn, please come on stage together with us. So to start this morning, I wanted to ask them what we have been learning this week. Of course, we were all super scared about this week, more than the other years. And actually, the president came with the Air Force One, but I thought it was much more stressful. I haven't heard him too much here in the city. And probably this has been the first year, much more than the other years, where all the source of good and good people and friends doing things around the world were all here in Davos. Probably because we were, ready to react with the big force of good. And so, let's say, we heard lots of strong, violent voices in the red zone, but here in the most beautiful part of the summit, in the promenade. As soon as you go, say, away from the red line, the beauty happens. I want to learn from you what we are going to take back home. Let's start from David. We have been talking a lot about AI in food. We have been talking a lot about the let's say the collisions between what are the essential needs for the planet, but on the other hand, also how the food system and industries are playing a very crucial role and critical role. Let's start from here.
So I think the first lesson I have learned is actually I think that food and agri-food system are not very well represented here. If you go on the promenade and you see which companies, which sector are there, there's basically no one from the food industry. And when I was asking actually to some people in the food industry that are here, because there are some CEOs, CSO, they were telling me, but you know, we are broke. We don't make money. We cannot compete in terms of influence, in terms of money with the big tech. And so that I think it's something that we see, and you will see it with farmers, and we know how farmers are struggling around the world. We see actually food companies also struggling, because sometimes we try to oppose, you know, the small versus the big, the farmer versus the companies. But we are in a sector that is critical, okay? This sector is feeding the world. If you are lucky enough, 3 times a day, you can eat. You don't need to connect to TikTok every day, okay? You need to eat every day, okay? But still, that's not where the focus is. That's not where we put the money. And year after year, some of the problem remain the same. And here we just say, okay, this year is going to be AI for ag. AI for ag. So that's going to solve the problems. There is some fundamental problem that we have not addressed. And the question of sustainability is about this. Because what we want is to feed people today, but also tomorrow, to feed them, to feed everyone, and properly. And I think that, yes, for example, AI has a great potential, can help, but AI is not going to replace the human factors. And that starts also by human making decisions for other humans. And I think that, yes, we are missing a bit in this big situation where, yes, there is conflict, there is tension, but normally food is what brings people together.
Thank you, David. You are touching. No, you can say that. Yes, you deserve this applause. Let's keep going weaving. We have been talking a lot the needs of starting seeing the planet in a different way, nudging the bioregional transition. So together with Merijn, we are working a lot on that. We have been at Davos together many years. I'm happy because this year we were talking about all of those topics everywhere in the world and in the Davos that we are basically, say, living generally, much more than in the past. So I would love you to share from your perspective with the lens of the Bioregional Weaving Lab, what you're going to take back home. What are, say, the source of hope that we're going to grasp out of this week?
Absolutely. Thank you, Sara. It's going to be a bit source of hope. It's going to also be a bit some points to worry about. Because I think coming here, one of the things that is the most important transition that we need to make is to stop the othering, to stop the fractionation and looking at people as others. Though throughout the entire week, I couldn't stop myself also every day as I came in, because all of those that are actually here as NGO can really not afford to pay $1,000 for a bed in a shared room a night, so we're traveling up and down the mountain every day. As I come in, I'm seeing that divide between, as you said, the red line, where we have the USA House wrapped in flags, where we have Palantir, where we have all the big tech that is trying to sell us a dog-eat-dog world in which people are supposedly happy because they're constantly going into this mimetic kind of happiness, this quick dopamine shot as you go on TikTok, as you go on all these things. On the other hand side, what I'm seeing here and in many of the beautiful spaces that have been created is more and more talk about community and community-led innovation. But innovation in the sense of people coming together, people rediscovering the beauty, the power that they have, the opportunity that is already locked within them and locked within their territories, coming together and then thriving. And what they're doing is, I think they're creating the beacons of hope. They're creating stories that show that the worldview that the last chance saloon of the world, or old world order, as The Guardian called Davos, isn't our only option. They're showing that there's another option. Now, I'm extremely happy with that, because what I take away is I'm recharging my batteries. It's exhausting to do this week, but I'm also recharging my batteries being in community. But I'm also at the same time aware that there's a lot of people that are not in this community, that are doing the work, that cannot even come here. And so the question that I always ask myself is, how do we make sure that we also get those stories out, not just through the climate heroes that we think are on the right side of history, but are not necessarily the people that somebody at home who's anxious, who's worried, but who also simply thinks, what can I do? Who am I in this grandiose world? That they see the stories that allow them to tap into that untapped potential and to actually also start the shift, because in the end the shift is going to come from the territories. So that for me was a really important point. And the last point is that I think there's a shift in the way we talk about finance. And I remember it was in this very same space 2 years ago that we were talking about the missing trillions. And I think that conversation was really important. And I remember one quote saying, well, the trillions aren't missing, they're walking right here in the streets. But what I find really beautiful now is to see that we've moved from, and we still need to have that large systems discussion, but we moved from that large systems discussion, which also in a way is so big that it almost is dehumanizing, to having a lot of conversation about how do we bring finance into the city with new finance facilities? How do we bring it into the territories? How do we bring it into the communities? So to me, those are signs of a shift in the way we're thinking. So with that, I go into this new year and this new, turn of the circus of going to all of these different moments where we meet each other and try to show and birth the new system with hope.
Thank you, Merijn. Let's stick in finance and economy. We are at the World Economic Forum. So, and you, David, you're leading the department at FAO that is collecting the data, understanding what are the needs. From your perspective, considering that feeding the planet anyway is the most essential need for all, what are now the pain points and what we all collectively can do, and what is missing? Because we all, the people that are attending the events at the Climate Hub, we're all taking this moment as a kickstart for the year, and we go back with homeworks. So I would love to learn from you, for all the people that are following us also online, because there's a lot of people following us online, from the food systems, chefs, cooks, farmers, industry players, people working in transformation, distribution, logistics, what we're missing, what needs to be done.
So we have to do a significant amount of things because we still have problems. The first thing is most people understand that we face these challenges in terms of the lack of healthy diets, the fact it's still very expensive for people. Actually, for 2.6 billion people, it's too expensive to buy every day something that is healthy. And we have nearly 700 million people that go to bed hungry. So you know that we still have this fundamental issue, and at the same time, we have overused water, we are still using too much land. So we need to make sure that the nature capital, among the other capital, is also respected and considered, and I will come back to that. Now, I think also we should all accept that we have a part of responsibility in this. Because if you listen to many people, they are not the problem. All the companies I was talking say, we are doing good. That's the other guy that is a problem.
Always.
Good. I will say you discuss with NGO, that's the same thing, okay? We are doing this and we try to be inclusive, and someone else is not doing something right. We are all producers, actors, activists, consumers. All the choices we make have an impact. So at the individual level, we have to be responsible and not to lie about what we do. Now, alone, we are not going to change the system. So we need to act collectively as a group. And normally that's what the human species has been super effective on this planet. We can work as a group. We can take a lot of challenge as a group. And we need coordination. And I think that really the important step, and on which an organization like FAO, that has been around for 80 years, that has been designed to help coordinating policy, coordinating standards, coordinating investment as a role. And so now 3 years ago, we introduced the FAO Global Roadmap to achieve food security and nutrition in the context of climate action, to really help building this coordination across different domains of action. Because you cannot disconnect what you do on the livestock with what you do on forest, with what you do on energy, but also on rural education. Because young farmers need to be educated. Young girls need to be educated to access to finance, otherwise we will not be productive farmers. And if you are not a productive farmer, you also misuse the resources that you have. And you are poor, and you don't benefit the collectivity as you can. So we need this plan, and that's what we have this roadmap. But we need also really to connect people, companies, small and big, farmers, the civil society, researchers, policymakers, from the leader of the world to the mayors in cities, because they all have a role to play. So it's basically an orchestra, okay? And everyone is playing its own music. With the roadmap, we try to get, a common music sheet, but we are not the musicians. You are the musicians, but we still have this role to play. And finally, I think that we really want also to make sure that we have this mean of connecting and coordination. And on one hand, we have markets. Markets is a way to coordinate people. Markets are not bad. Prices send signal. But the prices we have today are incomplete. That's one of the big issues. We don't pay for carbon. We don't pay for water. Even most of the farmers today doesn't pay for water. So we are taking decisions on the wrong things. And at the same thing for the boards of many companies. They look at their assets. They look at the value of their asset with the price of today, but they live in an illusion. It's a myopic thing, because the price of tomorrow, at one point, planet Earth reminds us the reality. When we don't have water, that's what people say, we have a problem. And water has a value. When we destroy soil, we say, now we have a problem. So when things are abundant, it's cheap, it's invisible, we don't see them. And I mean, COVID has started to remind some of us this, but I think really this, how we can get these better prices, this better valuation. But after, we need to, communicate also. There's a lot of informal coordination. Markets are not going to solve all the problems. Communication alone is not going to solve the problem, because communicating with 20 people, it's doable. Communicating with 10 billion people, and in a reciprocal way, that's difficult. But markets help this, because it's where people meet, and the prices have a role to play. So really, at the end, we have this plan, the roadmap, and now we build on different ways to make sure that we have the coordination to implement and to make sure we have solution, and we will not come back to Davos years after years to say, we still have a problem, and this year AI will solve it, next year crypto will solve it, the following year space adventure will solve it, and at one point the problem will still not be solved.
Until when we are going to be the one creating the problem. This is going to happen. Thank you so much, David. Last question. We've seen that there's a big lack of trust and truth. This, I think, was the thing that was, pinging me for the entire week. And this links to the topic of leadership. What's the leadership that we need now to bring around the table and inside the red zone? Because this is the problem. What's the leadership now that is imposing the voice, and what's the leadership that needs to be, shaped within communities, that needs to be supported? I think that now, this year, need to be focused on empowering people that are in the good trajectory, that can make things happen. So from your two different perspectives, the policy world, multilateral agencies, we need to rebuild the trust. We need to rebuild the trust also there. I feel the need of that now more than ever before. But then we need that And this needs to be supported, and how we can do it within industries, but also communities. Just 2 words about leadership.
I think the key point for me is leadership starts from within. Leadership is about actually leading mostly yourself and your own process of finding agency, but also keeping in check ego and the need to be right, the need to be superior. True leadership is very much serving, and that can be still leading away, but in a very humble and serving capacity. And I think that's what you see in communities. When you go into a community of change, you're not there to tell anything. You're there to ask questions. You're not there to give any solutions or answers. You're there to learn, and actually you're going to learn much more than the community. But in asking those questions, people will go on a process where they will discover their own inner power, their own inner potential, and then it will unfold like a fern. And that, to me, is true leadership.
Thank you, Merijn. And what about you?
So I think we are in a period where we show that leadership matters. I mean, in all, you can bring companies to the ground with the wrong leadership. You can bring countries to the ground. So, people were telling me now, but it's not going to happen. I mean, I have seen, even in my lifetime, countries collapsing, just because a crazy president or leaders decided to be in power. And today, even their income has been half and things like this, and people have left the country. So things can happen and can happen quick. And so a good leader or a bad leader changes the trajectory of companies, of group, of soccer team, of countries, of the world. And I think we have to acknowledge this. Now, what you said is critical. Leadership is not about me. It's about us. Now, this is a reality. A lot of leaders want to talk about themselves. And that's not really going to help. Because not one leader is going to solve all the problems. We need leaders to be able to work together, because not one alone has a solution. And then you have big egos that want to all drive a collective efforts. And I think that's where, as a global community, also we have to be very, vigilant, and to make sure we put our trust and our support to the right type of leadership. Because these people doesn't come to power just on their own.
Thank you so much. I have to thank you both. I'm very grateful, because for me you are mentors, friends, and companions. So I thank you for the work that we have been doing and that we're gonna do together in the next futures ahead. It's been amazing to share this journey this week at Davos together with you. And now I'm gonna take just the last 10 minutes to share with you a little bit where we can come together along the year, because lots of people during the week told me, hey, Sara, where we can come to meet you, where we can come and, connect with Sandia, with Clarissa, with your Food Alchemist team, and so on. And so I want to share with you a little bit who we are and what we're doing, because then this is just the starting point. So the Future Food Institute literally started to nudge the food system transformation, but just because food is literally at the epicenter, and create the balance between humans and nature. Where we are, we were born in Italy, but we have also a big headquarters in Japan. We have our campus and home in Pollica, that is one of the 7 emblematic communities of Mediterranean diet, but we are also in the, farmhouse of Lorenzo de' Medici, close to Florence. And then our living labs are growing, and we are supporting the farming communities in different parts of the world. I want to share with you what are the key points of our work. We've been very inspired in 2015 by Pope Francis. Pope Francis started talking within the Laudato Si about integral ecology. Not just talking about sustainability, but the fact of creating a balance between the political vision, economy, of course, environmental stewardship, human health, culture, the community. And this has been for us what we have been learning in Pollica. We at the Future Food Institute, we spent the last 12 years connecting the dots within all the food tech epicenters, looking for innovation and trying to create the future starting from San Francisco, from Singapore. But then we were missing a very, very critical part. we were missing the roots. So we were trying to build the future without being grounded. And as you know, nature teaches us this every single day. Without the deep roots, you're going to fall apart. At some point, I bumped into Pollica, discovering that Mediterranean diet has 3,000 years of history and belongs from big philosophers that were teaching us 3,000 years ago that we need to find a balance between humans and nature. And this place that is very famous for centenarian people, basically for me was a complete epiphany. Because when I arrived there, and I found out that the people that were interacting with me all day long, they were 19 years old, 100 years old, living alone with a brain capacity that is much faster than mine, happy, healthy. And I was saying, okay, there's lots of people that are struggling to find solution to create longevity through technology and additives. Let's try to connect the dots. What's the reason why? And I found out that this place that is embedded in the geopark of Cilento, that now is holding 1/3 of the biodiversities of the Mediterranean, was basically like that because since the beginning, there were just regen farmers. Of course, protecting the soil, of course, protecting biodiversity. There are still fishermen that are fishing in a very sustainable way, using the old Greek nets. And I started connecting with them. And at the beginning, people were telling me, oh, you're naive. You were at Google, you were in the geeky part, you were involving startuppers and the coolest things. But when I bumped there, I found out the naive farmer could show to us, Merijn was with me, what's the carbon capturing capacity of his soil? What's the level of nutrients of his products? And when we were asking them what the products that they are creating, he was not saying the best pasta. He was telling us, my goal and my mission is to have the best soil, not the best pasta, the best soil. And so, of course, over there, we started connecting the dots. And we decided that this must be the home of the Future Food Institute. So going deep in the roots of 3,000 years and starting learning from all of them. Those are all environmental stewards. And when we're hearing, you need to be a good ancestor, I'm thinking about them. Because what they are creating for all of us, it's unbelievable. But of course, and also our friends from we don't have time are telling that every single day. We need to make science great again. So we cannot just saying, okay, it's cool, the 900 years old people and the centenarians. No, I need to show the numbers, start to measure, and try to create models to bring this kind of way of living in our world. Because of course, our life in big cities is completely different. So now the big challenge is not to go over there and transform completely our life. We need to adapt and see how all of that can be a source of learning for all of us in our daily life. And we decided to start to connect the dots and start to invest on reconnecting with people and using the framework of the SDGs just as a map that could connect with the integral ecological vision. And we understood that to make it happen, we are private. We have been always working with startup, industries, the private sector. And we always thought that we could go faster being alone. But over there, we started understanding that only working together with the mayors, together with the local administration, could become something that could help to transform the entire ecosystem. And we started collecting the pieces like a big, big puzzle. Understanding that, yes, now we have the framework, but we needed also to empower people because the level of mental illness, disconnection, we work with thousands of youth every year in schools, youth from all over the world. The level in the last 6 years have been going like crazy. Families are completely disconnected. And so we understood that we needed to empower leaders and youth. And this is what happened. So in the campus, we started organizing our regeneration trainings for leaders, policymakers, and youth all together. So all our sessions are putting together farmers unions, fishermen, innovators, designers, artists, leaders, youth,
incredibly important
together.
to achieve all of our sustainable development goals. If we can figure out how we can feed the world in a more sustainable and equitable way, how we can restore our biodiversity, our soil health whilst doing so, and if we can also make that more inclusive, including making it work for the farmers, I think we can solve most of the world's problems. Currently, we're on the wrong trajectory. So what you're doing here is important. It's beyond importance, I would say. You bring together key opinion makers, key influencers, and key practitioners in the food system, not only to spend some time together to listen to each other and enhance our knowledge, but also to seek solutions for these burning issues we've actually dealt with for decades and frankly haven't found yet a suitable solution that would work for all.
And of course, this is a big challenge, but we are keep going. And during this kind of events, lots of things happen. And during this year, lots of people, and of course, when you're here in Davos overall, you meet lots of investors. They're asking you, okay, what you're doing? I'm in education. Okay, how many millions people are you training? I'm not training millions people. And they were complaining because we are not too digital. And at some point I told them, I don't want to be too digital. Because when you take youth in our Climate Shapers program to have this kind of experiences, they completely change their life. If you teach them out of a 12 minutes video, you're not changing their life. You can give them numbers, but you are not inspiring them in a way that can they take action and start to transform their communities. So this is what is happening every single day at the campus, here in Japan, in Iceland, in every part of the planet where we are running the Climate Shapers Bootcamp. And this was a program that started in 2019 together with FAO. We started targeting some topics. We need to regenerate our cities. We need to save our oceans. We need to protect our biodiversity. We need to start to see food as a tool to build diplomacy. And we started working, organizing boot camps that are involving people, always youth, but also leaders together in this kind of experiential experiences. And on top of that, of course, keep going, connecting the dots. The big goal is to save the planet, to care about humanity. Everyone is struggling with the interconnection between climate and health. And we started thinking, okay, we need to learn something from this community. And we started being very fascinated by this concept of the algorithm for longevity. And we started using our campuses literally as a source to collect all the data input, but also using the citizens as our ally, using the fishermen as our ally. And we started literally seeing on the data how much the environment, but also the food we're eating and the soil from where our food comes from and the water from where our fish come from impacts on our health. What I'm talking about when I'm talking about health is, of course, parameters of longevity, but also fertility. I'm mom of 2 boys. And I understood and I found on those papers that in the 2 places that you see here, comparing the level of fertility in youth between 18 and 25 years old, there is a gap that goes from the 30 to the 70% of fertility. So when we're talking about how much we're going to feed 10 billion people by 2050, I'm thinking about 2100 or 200 years from here. We're not going to be 10 billion. And one of the reasons is because humankind is going to be less fertile. So the campus became a big hub, and we are hosting lots of research initiatives where we are proving what we're saying. We want to learn from the data and from what is happening. And going on, of course, we understood that food was the most powerful tool, and we are learning also from Mediterranean diet. This is what is happening. We see that tables are our place where we can build peace. And so this is just to give you an idea of what is happening. So the convivium for us is a cornerstone, is a pillar, because around the table no one is fighting. Around the table magical things happen. Napoleon was always saying that he was traveling with his chef, because if you put people around the table, you can start talk. So my invitation is always that each time we gather around the table, we are honoring our past, we can celebrate and care about each other, but we are also taking responsibility towards our future. This is our Sunday lunch in Pollica, and this actually is the day of Mediterranean diet that proudly, thanks to FAO, from this year we're going to celebrate in the World Day of Mediterranean Diet on the 16th of November. But this is what is happening around the table. But for us, gastrodiplomacy is also this. So I want to have here on stage with me Sandia. Where is Clarissa? Clary, come here, please. Because during this week, and here you see just some of the images of what was happening here. I wanted to have them here because they are a powerhouse. And last year, you're amazing, girls. So Clarissa, she's the big machine behind the campus. So the thousands of youth that are coming are all led by this lady. And when I called her, hey, take the car, come in Davos, we need your help, you need to be here. She said, okay, boom. She drove up to Davos to help us. And Sandia, she is our lead of the food alchemist team. The food alchemist team is made by food scientists, biologists, the designers, and of course also gastronom and a nutritionist. And they're all coming together. So since the beginning, we understood that using food to start and spark thoughtful conversation was amazing. And every year I was coming in Davos and I was super frustrated because you were seeing caviar and champagne. And I was wondering, yes, but there's beautiful Alps around. For sure there are producers. And so last year with Sandia, we said, okay, we need to go in Davos before. We need to start calling farmers. And we did that. At the beginning, it was super tough because people were scared. When we were calling saying, hey, we would love you to come here and to help us. We are within the summit. And they were saying, no, we're going to be away. We said, no, please, we're coming. We don't want to cook things that we're bringing from all over the world. And we did that. So, of course, this is part of what we're doing. We try literally to be what we're preaching and to be coherent as much as we can. And I have to thank you for the incredible work you have been doing, cooking at night. You don't even imagine what was our kitchen during this week. And thank you so much for the work you're doing here at the Climate Week in New York and in our campuses. So for us, gastrodiplomacy is a serious thing. We're not just talking about gastrodiplomacy. We were eating and tasting, and it's a pleasure to work with you, girls. Last thing, bioregional transition has been the big keyword for us this week. For us, this is, of course, something that we are trying to spread in conferences like we did this week, but for us, it represents the future lands. Future lands are the places where we are acting, like Pollica, but also regenerative cities. Our hub in Tokyo, in Japan, of course, we are working with Hoki Island, the most beautiful places in Japan, but our hub is in Tokyo. How you combine Pollica and longevity with the life in Tokyo? That's super crowded. But together with Tokyo Tatemono, since 6 years, they started coming in Pollica. They started connecting with farmers. They started seeing that this city are dying. The big cities are dying, are ghost town, there's no life. Those overall the financial districts. And so we started learning together, and we started this big bioregional plan, and together with them we said, okay, we need to regenerate cities. We have not to keep going, building, creating spaces that basically are empty of life. And this is actually what we launched at the New York Climate Week together with them, and we are now collecting lots of other cities that are starting regenerative projects that are caring about the rural areas and building bridges. And of course, we are going to the end, the other big topic, and I'm happy because this year here at Davos we have been hearing a lot about ocean, the need to save the ocean. We have our friend here in the audience that is working on that, and this is for us one of the priority. And here, an invitation for you. Also for the Green Hub team, the Climate Hub gang, and so on. We are the organizers of the Venice Climate Week. Of course, Venice. Close your eyes, think about Venice, think about 30 years. There's no gonna be any Venice because the sea level is rising. And so, of course, organizing a climate week over there, it's pretty intense because you touch the level of risk in which we are. So every year from the 3rd to the 8th of June, we are in Venice. You're all invited not to come and listen because everyone who's coming in Venice is coming and doing, coming and sharing projects, coming and connecting. And we're very proud because for us, the Venice Climate Week is an opportunity to nudge the fact that people are adopting new policies that are needed. Last year, we started a working group during the week together with mayors, together with scientists, together with activists and the social community to create a law, to create blue communities in our country. And now there is an amendment that is under the vote to create blue communities and policies dedicated to that. So every time we organize something, it's not just an event to hug each other and have fun, but there's always a meaning. We always want to do something that can create an impact. And here I leave you with our Venice Climate Week.
We're better to pay our respects to our very special water planet in the universe than in Venice, the oldest water city on our planet. These 6 days will be a clarion call to cities around the world that water animates all of life on our unique little home in the universe.
What really lies beneath those pictures are human lives.
But what I'm suggesting here is this is a new development that we have not seen before, because we have to follow the waters. The climate events do not care about political boundaries. The floods, the droughts, the heat waves, the wildfires, the hurricanes, the typhoons, they affect specific ecosystems.
Siamo tornati a prima della fondazione dell'IPCC. Siamo tornati a
before
prima
the creation
della
IPCC.
Convenzione quadro sul clima di Rio de Janeiro.
We
Qui
went
si
back
pensa a fare
before
bombe,
Rio
non pannelli solari.
agreement. We're thinking about creating bombs,
Bisogna
not solar
cambiare
panels.
in fretta
We
se
need to
vogliamo
change
che ci sia un
fast.
risultato, altrimenti quando prendi quella linea rossa non torni indietro
Because if not, there's not
in
going to
10
be
anni,
any hope.
forse
And
torni
no
indietro in
solution in
10.000.
10
Quindi il
years,
messaggio della
but in
bottiglia
10,000 years.
è questo, non possiamo aspettare. Il momento della militanza è proprio adesso.
Poveri, cioè l'ottimismo, optimism is a duty, è un dovere, ma perché è un dovere? Per l'ottimismo è legato al futuro.
Ci deve essere una sorta di comunque alleanza.
Mi accendete il collegamento con Washington? Credo che già ci stesse sentendo Jeremy Rifkin. Jeremy, are you with us? Welcome back. Il sindaco Brugnaro, l'amministrazione, Jeremy Rifkin sono scambiati un testo. Jeremy Rifkin sta già facendo il lavoro di questo tipo con il Parlamento
the
europeo.
water declaration that has been signed by 8,000 mayors.
As I said, I think that the time is now to act and to say that the city need to stay together and launch an alliance for a new Blue Deal. Venice is the best city to talk about it and to start this alliance with all the cities in the world.
Abbiamo firmato qua a Venezia la Venice Water Declaration che porterà a Venezia tra un anno 100 sindaci da tutte le città del mondo a parlare del Blue Deal.
Quindi come se ne esce? Se ne esce evitando che ci sia un sentimento antiscientifico in cui gli esperti vengono irrisi, in cui in qualche modo appunto non si crede più nella scienza.
And so, thank you, Venice, for showing us the way for so long, and now for being hopefully first in show, to call on our fellow cities around the world to follow suit with a second name, Planet Acqua, this beautiful little home of life on this universe.
So, considering that the 70% of the world is made by Acqua, water. We need to call ourselves Planet Acqua and citizens of this Planet Acqua. You're all invited in Venice, and you have seen youth there. We are working with more than 5,000 youth along the country with public debates, training them on how to debate, to talk without arguing, without fighting. But they need to learn about the topic and debate about the climate issues, because if you want to learn about this topic, you need to, of course, source every information and rely on science, and then to be able to talk everywhere, at every level. Youth are involved, scientists are involved, mayors are involved, and of course, UN agencies and the broader society is all called to come. And I want to leave you with the last sentence, and I have to thank the COPEX team and the community around COPEX, because last night, we had our call together with Merijn and with a bunch of amazing weavers from all around the world. They were basically calling us. They wanted to learn what were our learning out of this Davos. And a professor from Berkeley was sharing this sentence from Milton Friedman, and I think that I'm going to go back with this on my mind. Only a crisis, actual or perceived, produces real change. When that crisis occurs, the actions that are taken depend on ideas that are lying around. That, I believe, is our basic function, to develop alternatives to existing policies, to keep them alive and available until the politically impossible becomes the politically inevitable. So I think that our responsibility now is to inspire others and to go back to that. We need to be brave to imagine. We need to believe, and we need to act. So I have to thank you all, to thank deeply the Green Up, because Green Up has a huge, not only responsibility, but is making a huge, among everything, a huge impact. Please come here with me, because I think that the entire community deserve, I think, not only big applause for you, but even much more, because the role that you have been playing for Davos, for the entire summit within those years, and we were not knowing each other in the past, but I was always here. What I basically learned in this theater, the connection, the friends that now are my friends, that I made in your bar, during these years, you don't even imagine. You need to start to count the impact you're doing also through that. So thank you so much. And thank you all for being here today, this morning. Now we need to eat. So, of course, exactly. The invitation is to go into the gastrodiplomacy.
We do need to eat, but I cannot let you go without a really small food present from our region.
Okay.
A vegan nut cake from the Grisons region, Grigioni, especially for you, and also some more for the team.
Thank you so much.
And to all, I want to say it's with partners like these that it's just such a joy to work, because they are the ones that are making it happen. And it's been lovely having you here. And please come back. And let's eat.